podcast is brought to you by Head Start Basketball.
Hello and welcome to the 70th edition of the Coach's Corner Roundtable on the Hoopheads podcast. Each episode of the Coach's Corner Roundtable will feature our all-star lineup of guests answering a single basketball question. A new Coach's Corner Roundtable will drop around the 15th of each month. October's Roundtable question is, what is the biggest challenge you face during preseason practice, and how do you overcome it? Our coaching lineup this month includes Jake Boyd from Luther College, Jerry Buckley from Bishop Kenny High School, Erik Buehler from Arapahoe High School, Stephen Halstead from Grace College, Dave Hixon from Amherst College, Harri Mannonen, author of Complex Basketball Coaching, How to Make Basketball Practices More Effective, Dan Miller from San Marcos High School, Matthew Raidbard, author of Lead Like a Pro, John Schulman from the University of Central Arkansas, Don Showalter from USA Basketball, and David Vogel from Ohio Wesleyan University. Please enjoy this roundtable episode of the Hoopheads podcast, and once you're finished listening, please give the show a 5-star rating and review after you subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HoopheadsPod for the latest updates on episodes, guests, and events from the Hoopheads Pod. Hey Hoopheads, our friends at Dr. Dish Basketball are here to help your team train bigger and better this season with exclusive savings on the industry's best shooting machine. Now until October 31st, get $3,000 off the Dr. Dish CT Plus and experience firsthand what the ultimate training solution is all about. You can also follow their incredible content at Dr. Dish B-Ball on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Mention the Hoopheads podcast and save an extra $300 on the Dr. Dish Rebel, All-Star, and CT models. Those are some great deals, Hoopheads. Get your Dr. Dish shooting machine today.
Hi, this is Coach Corey Harris from the Beijing Royal Fighters CBA team, and you're listening to the Hoopheads podcast. Let's get into it.
Prepare like the pros with the all-new Fast Draw and Fast Scout. Fast Draw has been the #1 play diagramming software for coaches for years. You'll quickly see why Fast Model Sports has the most compelling and intuitive basketball software out there. For a limited time, Fast Model is offering Hoopheads listeners 15% off Fast Draw and Fast Scout. Just use the code HHP15 at checkout to grab your discount, and you'll be on your way to more efficient game prep and improved communication with your team. Fast Model also has new coaching content every week on its blog, plus play and drill diagrams on its Playbank. Check out the links in the show notes for more. Fast Model Sports is the best in basketball. Let's hear from our panel about the biggest challenge they face during preseason practice and how they overcome it. Jake Boyd from Luther College.
This is Jake Boyd, assistant men's basketball coach at Luther College, answering this month's roundtable question. What is the biggest challenge you face during preseason practice, and how do you overcome it? One of our biggest challenges is simply maximizing our time. As a Division III, we get our 8 NCAA days in the preseason, and though I'm sure this isn't a challenge that's unique to us, we are maybe a little unique in our large roster composition of 33 guys from 8 countries and 12 states. So maximizing those 8 days is critical in building connections both to our guys and amongst our guys as we go into the season. One way we're trying to overcome that is by splitting our practices into 2 groups to allow us more individual repetitions as well as with as many different groups of guys as possible so we can build that chemistry on the floor while allowing us to interact with each player more as a coaching staff as well. Another way is by leaning heavily on our leadership council to organize open runs, lifting sessions, and really maximizing our new guys' experience by helping them individually on and off the floor. Those guys are huge for us in setting the tone for the season, and we're incredibly thankful for the work that they do. Thanks as always, guys, and again, congrats on the 1,000th. I hope everyone gets off to a great start this week, and best of luck to everybody this season.
Jerry Buckley, Bishop Kenny High School, Jacksonville, Florida.
This is Jerry Buckley from Bishop Kenny talking about our biggest challenge in the preseason. Luckily, we don't have too many challenges, but one of the things we do have to work with is getting in our gym. Our girls volleyball program is very strong. Traditionally, they have a good chance to play in the Final Four every year, so they usually go late into their season. So for us, it's just really communicating with them and our girls program to make sure we have a good setup for our gym scheduling, morning, afternoon, and night, whenever we can get in there. There's always a balance. We want to make sure we're providing opportunities for all of our players. We'll typically have about 45 guys involved for our freshman, JV, and varsity team combined in the preseason. So making sure we have a balance where we're building for the future, but also designating time for our varsity level guys to be in there and get gym time to be able to get enough shots up and things like that. So typically that's our biggest thing as far as scheduling. And then communication, obviously staying in communication with everyone involved, the coaches of the other teams, making sure our players and parents are aware of the schedule and if any changes. We're here in Florida, so obviously we've dealt with the storms over the last couple of weeks. Luckily, we haven't had any major impact in our area, but we've had school canceled a couple of times, so just making sure people are aware and then taking advantage of any opportunities we can get in there and leading into the start of practice.
Erik Buehler, Arapahoe High School, Centennial, Colorado.
Hey, what's going on, Hoopheads? This is Erik Buehler at Arapahoe High School. And this month we were asked what are some of the main challenges we face with preseason practices. And I have to go with facilities and just trying to find a way to be in the gym and get basketball work in during the fall. Obviously, during the fall season, you have volleyball, and that's their main time to be in the gym. Big schools here in Colorado, a lot of us have to also work with gymnastics, as well as sharing the gym with the other basketball teams in the school. Things like homecoming and assemblies and just all those activities is a challenge to find time to get your guys in the gym and work with them. What we try to do is, obviously, we have to schedule around it. Sometimes we go really early. Sometimes we have to go later at night. But we also try to have our guys focus on doing the other things, getting in the weight room, being in the weight room, lifting weights, do speed and agility twice a week off campus with our guys, not only so they get different voices before the season starts, but also so that they're just getting that bit of cross-training in. And then as well, it really, really encourage them to find gym time on their own, get shots up, get to a spot where maybe they can use a shooting machine, things like that. That's all I have this month. You guys have a good rest of your month and look forward to talking to you next time.
Stephen Halstead from Grace College.
Mike, this is Stephen Halstead from Grace College for your Roundtable 70 question. What is the biggest challenge you face during preseason practice and how do you overcome it? I think one thing that we have seen this year is you're doing a lot of teaching. So you're teaching and implementing things. For our instance, for us, it was defense early on. And you're not able to just continue to stay with that as you have to continue to implement other things in terms of practice with offense and how other teams are going to guard things. And I think one way that we overcome it is just continuing to find ways to circle back, whether it be a build-up drill right at the beginning of a defensive segment to reiterate what we were teaching back in week 1, now in week 3, and showing why that is still important for us. And I think another way that we overcome any of those instances is whatever we're trying to emphasize that day, we really put bonus in the scoring for that. So, for instance, if we are wanting to really get our guys to, 1, crash the offensive glass, and 2, box out, I think we will implement a +1 for any offensive rebound in a drill. So it's just normal scoring and then a +1 for an offensive rebound. Another thing that we'll do as we start implementing more of our motion and trying to get into our off-ball stuff, throwing it to the elbow and doing some Princeton splits is anytime we score off of an off-ball screen, we'll add an additional bonus point. So it's not taking everything away from them, but also trying to encourage them to use the actions that we've been working on.
Dave Hixon, Basketball Hall of Famer from Amherst College.
Hey, Hoopheads. Dave Hixon here, retired, Amherst College. Question number 70, biggest challenge in preseason practice and how do you overcome it? I always found that the most difficult thing was deciding what you wanted to put in for the first game. You need to have a realistic plan, a well-thought-out plan, based on experience usually, of what you can and can't put in properly before your first game. What are the most important things for those first few games? You need to have patience. If you try to do things too quickly and rush them, we used to have an expression, if you put something in half-ass, then execution will be half-assed in the game. And so you need to put it in and you need to complete it. You need to make sure that your players understand it. So you need to be patient. And then have a backup plan, plan B. So if you're struggling to get something in that's very important for those first few games and you're not getting it in and the kids aren't getting it, you're not getting it in the way you want to get it in so that you can execute it properly in the game, you need to have a plan B. And plan B might just be to scale back some other piece that's less important that's in that plan. And, I know in the old days we used to have 7 or 8 days to prepare for teams who had been out for 2 weeks longer. And so we tried to put a lot of stuff in, but we never tried to put in more stuff than we absorbed. And so it's just really important that the kids absorb it. You need to be patient. You need to have plan A. You need to have plan B. Good luck.
Harri Mannonen, coach and author from Finland.
The challenge in the off-season is that you're going against your own team the whole time, like against your own teammates. So there's no real measurement whether you're making improvement or not, whether you're playing badly or not. Because no matter what happens, if you're scrimmaging, then it's still your own team that's winning. And because you have a tendency to feel good about yourself, about what a nice job you're doing, and you have a tendency to make the practices fluid, so that everybody's feeling good about themselves. So that this makes matters worse. I think the way around this is being really paranoid about what you're doing, about whether it's good enough what you're doing, really get the competition level up, so that the intensity level goes up, so that there's nothing given even if you're going against your own teammates, so that the intensity is so high that different things will start emerging, things that you didn't know that the players could do, and everything is so and so on the edge of chaos the whole time, but somehow you still survive still manage to survive.
Hey coaches, we know you're invested in the next generation of athletes, so why not give them the star treatment this season with Game Changer, a free app that provides you with the tools to help your players improve. Review game film, game stats, and cumulative season statistics with your team to keep players motivated all season long. Live stream your games for free and enjoy automatic highlight clips. Download Game Changer now on iOS or Android. Game Changer equips your team with the tools they need to stay engaged. Download it today and make this season one for the books. Game Changer. Stream, score, connect. Learn more at gc.com/hoopheads. That's gc.com/hoopheads. Dan Miller, San Marcos High School in San Marcos, Texas.
Hard things in the preseason is staying patient, because you're not a finished product as a basketball team, of course, until the winter months. So in the preseason, you want to do a lot of exploration. You want to try some things that might not always be pretty on offense, but just to see if your team can handle that, how that looks, maybe some different things on defense. So I believe in the preseason, obviously, skill development, shooting, weight training are extremely important. But I also think as a coach, it's a good time to learn some things about your team, what you can and cannot do. So in the preseason, the product itself is not always going to look great. But what you always have to remember as a coach is you want to be playing your best basketball come conference play, district play. So I think staying true to yourself, staying true to the team on what we can do to figure out how we're going to look then is a key in preseason.
Matthew Raidbard, author of Lead Like a Pro.
Hey, Hoopheads Nation, this is Coach Matt Raidbard back here with you for another Hoopheads Roundtable. This month discussing what is the biggest challenge you face during preseason practice and how do you overcome it? When I started thinking about this question immediately, the first thing that came to mind is the biggest challenge that I always felt as a coach was the integration of new players onto the team. Bringing them up to speed with what your standards are, your expectations, and integrating them into the team culture. That was always the biggest challenge, no matter how much vetting you did in the recruitment process, how well you built relationships with the new athletes, how much opportunity they had to work with and get to know your current players in the lead up to the preseason. There's always that period of assimilation into the team and integration that can be a little difficult, that can be a challenge. Making sure those personalities mesh, make sure that everybody understands the difference between their previous team's culture, standard, and expectations and this one. So, what do you do to overcome that? I think there's a few things. Number one is, for me, is you empower the current leaders on your team to be able to not only be an extension of your voice with the standards and expectations and the setting of your team culture, but to really take a leadership role in integrating those new players onto the team, making sure that they are held accountable, making sure that they're aware of the standards and expectations at all times, because they may be very different from what they previously were on their teams. And then making sure that they feel a part of the team. There's a lot that coaches can do to make sure that the new athletes feel accepted and included, but so much of that, and it's so powerful when that comes from the players themselves. So making sure and encouraging your team to do things together off the court, to do that community building, to make sure that nobody's left out and nobody's left behind. Everybody feels included and part of the team moving forward. Because once you have everybody on the same page, which I think is that difficult part, then you could really take off and start rowing in the right direction. But I always feel like that's the challenge at the start of the season. It's getting everybody integrated and on the same page, everybody up to speed on your standards and expectations, and then developing that strong leadership so that they take ownership of making sure that all of those new players are in line with everybody else who's returning.
Don Showalter, USA Basketball.
Hi, Don Showalter here from USA Basketball. The question for this month is, what's the biggest challenge coaches face during preseason practice and how to overcome it? I think the first challenge you have is to gear your practice. How are you going to gear your practices to making sure you have enough time for some skill development? Because I know you want to get a lot of your team stuff in, but you also have to have some skill development time. So I think that's a challenge that all coaches face. Again, I think the other thing is you want to put a system in, and you don't know how much time you have to establish a complete system, so you have to kind of pick and choose bits and pieces of your system to put in the preseason. That's another challenge. You're not going to put everything in all at once, so I think you have to really sit down and discuss with your assistants what you want to put in and how you're going to put it in. Thank you.
John Schulman from the University of Central Arkansas.
This is John Schulman, head basketball coach at the University of Central Arkansas, and the question for the month is, what are the biggest challenges that you have in preseason for preseason practice? I've got a couple. What to put in, when to put it in, how much do you want to put in, do you want to be good at a few things, or are you going to throw everything at them and then work on it through the year? Knowing where you are in preseason, having a plan. I think you do have to have a plan. What do you want to accomplish this week? And then next week, I think you have to have a plan. but you also have to be flexible enough to deviate from the plan. Hey, man, we're going to put in all of our under OB defenses Thursday, and you're not pleased with anything else, then you may have to push it back. Do you have to win that first scrimmage? We're getting ready to have a scrimmage in a week and a half. Do you have to win the first scrimmage? The answer is no. The key to that first scrimmage is have enough in there that you can kind of evaluate your team and then fix things afterwards. The hardest thing is just knowing where your team is. And no one really knows where their team is. The saying, you're never as good as you think you are, you're never as bad as you think you are, is very true. So you just got to stay with the process and keep plugging away and keep doing what you're doing. And then that first scrimmage, I think scrimmages are vital. Whether you're in college or high school or whatever, I think scrimmages are vital. And then take a look and fix what you don't like and fix it. Whether it be you're doing a poor job on the glass or your execution's bad, then fix it. And then hopefully we all have enough time to do some fixing of it. But once again, your challenges are what to put in, when to put it in, and how much do you want to put in that early. Do you want to be good at a few things, or be really good at a few things, or be average at a lot of things and just continue to work on it through the year and kind of knowing where you are, exactly know when you are, and having a gut feel on what your team needs. Is your team exhausted? Do you need a teaching day? Do you need the bust them day? We like busting our guys right before a day off, and it's kind of a gut feel for you and your program and your team. So, these are the challenges we face. Having a plan and having a schedule helps a little bit, but every team is different. When we were at Huntsville, we were teaching 3 guys new offenses and defenses, and here, because we're taking over a brand new program, we're teaching 18 guys all this every single day. So it's a little slower than we're used to, and that's another challenge. So everybody's in a different time and a different place with your program and your team. We just keep on plugging and try to get better, a little bit better every single day, and I think that's probably the key, and not lose sight that it is a marathon, not a sprint. Hope this helps. Good luck. Take care. Have a great year.
David Vogel from Ohio Wesleyan University.
Hey everybody, this is David Vogel, assistant men's basketball coach at Ohio Wesleyan University. Question for the month is, what is the biggest challenge you face during preseason practice, and how do you overcome it? Right now, we've got about 6 of our 8 preseason practices under our belt, and we've put in a good portion of our offense, and now the guys are learning it and getting the reps and getting a little bit more comfortable. Now, one of our biggest challenges on the floor, at least, is to figure out not just how to run the offense and run what we want to do, but then execute it as well and take what the defense gives us. So one thing of how we overcome it or how we work on it is just breaking it down 5-on-0 in the half court and in transition, knowing where you're supposed to go, who you're supposed to screen, etc. And then we'll do a lot of shooting drills in our offense. And then one of the biggest ways we overcome it is just let the guys play 5-on-5, half court, transition. Let them figure it out in some low pressure environments right now in these preseason practices. Let them play against defense. And then one big thing that we're very lucky with is our upperclassmen are fantastic with teaching our new guys kind of what to do. Most of the time during practice, if somebody does something wrong or is in the wrong spot, usually one of our upperclassmen is able to correct those guys before our coaching staff, which is a huge blessing. So that's where we're at. Hopefully in a few months, this isn't our biggest challenge, and we'll go from there. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for checking out this month's Hoopheads Podcast Roundtable. We'll be back next month with another question for our all-star lineup of coaches. Your first impression is everything when applying for a new coaching job. A professional coaching portfolio is the tool that highlights your coaching achievements and philosophies, and most of all, helps separate you and your abilities from the other applicants. The Coaching Portfolio Guide is an instructional, membership-based website that helps you develop a personalized portfolio. Each section of the Portfolio Guide provides detailed instructions on how to organize your portfolio in a professional manner. The guide also provides sample documents for each section of your portfolio that you can copy, modify, and add to your personal portfolio. As a Hoopheads Pod listener, you can get your Coaching Portfolio Guide for just $25. Visit coachingportfolioguide.com/hoopheads to learn more.
Thanks for listening to the Hoopheads podcast, presented by Head Start Basketball.